motion used to interrupt. It asked for time, for pauses that could not be scheduled. Function did not ask. It organized. It steadied the surface. So the system leaned there, into planning, tracking, managing, while feeling stayed present but increasingly backgrounded, like sound from another room that no longer required response. Nothing shut down. Something was simply outpaced. And over time, it becomes easier to keep moving than to pause long enough to feel what might surface. Morning arrives without emphasis. The body moves before the day is named. Light enters the room. The clock is checked. A sequence begins. Water runs. Hands move. Clothes are selected with a practiced economy. There is a temperature in the chest, noted, unremarked. Breakfast is assembled in a familiar order. The same mug, the same placement on the counter. The mouth tastes, the stomach receives, the sensation registers, then folds back into motion. Messages appear. They are answered. Lists adjust themselves. Time is measured in small completions. A door opens. Keys are lifted. The outside world accepts the body without comment. Movement continues. Stops occur where they always occur. Red light, green light, crossing. Breath finds a steady rhythm, not deep, not shallow, sufficient. There is a memory that passes through briefly, a tone, a color. It does not ask to stay. The day proceeds. Tasks meet their containers. Transitions happen cleanly. Lunch arrives. Hunger had been present. Now it is satisfied. Afternoon repeats with slight variation. A different screen, a different surface. The body adjusts its posture. The adjustment is efficient. Fatigue appears as a soft pressure. It is logged. It does not redirect the sequence. Evening comes. Lights change. Food is prepared again. Conversation occurs. Words move outward. Responses return. The timing remains intact. Later, the body is horizontal. The room is quiet. Something stirs beneath the calm. The system registers it the way it registers weather, present, not requiring action. Sleep arrives without needing to be invited. Functional stability does not arrive as a replacement. It arrives as an alignment. There is a moment, often unmarked, when continuity begins to feel protective. Not in a dramatic way, not through force, simply through repetition. Things that repeat begin to feel safe because they do not ask questions. They do not open intervals. They do not require pauses whose length is unknown. Function offers something specific, a surface that holds. Days that unfold without rupture. Systems that continue regardless of internal variation. Motion remains present, but it introduces variability. It asks for time without specifying duration. It does not arrive with a clear agenda. It widens the moment. It stretches the present. Function narrows the field. It keeps the present moving. Over time, movement itself becomes reassuring, not because it is joyful, but because it is predictable. Stability forms through consistency, through the reliable return of similar actions in similar sequences. This reliability becomes a form of safety, not the safety of comfort, the safety of not being interrupted. The system learns that things can be carried as long as they do not stop the flow. Feeling does not disappear. It waits. It adapts to the new rhythm. It learns how to exist without asking for the center. Sensing remains intact. The body still registers temperature, pressure, fatigue, hunger, pleasure. Emotion still arises in response to contact. There is no loss in the capacity to feel. What changes is where attention settles when choices are made. attention begins to favor what keeps the sequence intact, what maintains continuity, what prevents backlog. Decision-making reorganizes around maintenance, not because feeling is unimportant, but because it is inefficient. Feeling requires space. It introduces branches. Function prefers linearity. When time is limited, the system allocates resources toward what completes. Feeling becomes informational rather than directive, a signal, not a steering mechanism. It is noticed, then placed aside until the sequence allows. Often, the sequence does not allow. This is not a rejection. It is a prioritization. Execution holds the foreground because it resolves quickly. Emotion lingers. It does not resolve on demand. So the system learns to consult it later. Later becomes indefinite. Management becomes the primary mode of attention. Tracking, adjusting, correcting. The internal landscape is scanned for interference, not for meaning. Feeling is still there, but it no longer sets the pace. This shift does not happen in a single decision. There is no moment where one way of being is consciously replaced by another. It accumulates. A small choice made repeatedly. Choosing to finish before pausing. Choosing to maintain before exploring. Choosing to keep the line unbroken. Each time the cost is minimal. Each time the reward is immediate. The day moves forward. Nothing collapses. Over weeks, over months, over years, this pattern reinforces itself. Function proves reliable. It asks less. It demands less accommodation. It does not expand the moment. It compresses it. Compression feels efficient. Efficiency feels safe. Emotion, by contrast, is spacious. It opens rooms. It introduces echoes. In a system oriented toward continuity, echoes feel destabilizing. So the system learns to move past them, not to deny them, to outpace them. There is relief in this. Relief in not stopping. Relief in knowing what comes next. The sequence becomes a rail. The body follows. No alarm sounds. No warning is issued. The transition completes itself through duration. The state is often misunderstood. It is not numbness. Sensation continues. Effect continues. The inner field is active. It is not emotional absence. Feelings arise with their usual texture. They simply do not interrupt. It is not dissociation, not a leaving of the body, not a blankness. The body remains present, engaged, responsive. There is awareness. There is responsiveness. What has changed is the governing principle. Function has become the organizing intelligence. It holds the timeline. It sets the order. Emotion has not been exiled. It has been repositioned, placed adjacent rather than central. This is not collapse. It is adaptation. A way of keeping things moving without asking the system to open more space than it can reliably hold. Nothing is wrong here. Something has simply learned how to continue. The morning meeting begins on time. Screens light up. Names appear in their squares. Voices enter in sequence. Information is exchanged. Decisions are logged. Tasks are assigned. The body sits upright. Hands rest near the keyboard. There is a slight tightness at the base of the throat. It registers as pressure, then blends into posture. Attention remains with the agenda. Time is kept. The meeting ends cleanly. The pressure remains unchanged as the next window opens. An evening message arrives. A coordination detail, dates, availability, logistics. The reply forms quickly, clear, efficient, neutral in tone. The phone is set down. A warmth lingers in the chest, something like anticipation, something like reluctance. It does not shape the response. It does not delay it. Calendar updates. The plan holds. Night settles into routine. Water fills the sink. Plates are stacked. The room is quiet. Movement is economical. The body knows the order. There's a heaviness behind the eyes, a pull toward stillness. It is noted as the last dish is rinsed. The light is turned off. The sequence completes. When function becomes the primary stabilizer, something subtle happens to time. Moments lose their edges. They connect more smoothly. The day becomes a continuous surface rather than a series of openings. This preserves motion. It preserves coherence. It preserves the ability to remain oriented in complex environments. There is less risk of being overtaken by what cannot be scheduled, but there is also less space for what unfolds slowly. Feeling does not vanish. It compresses. It learns to exist in narrower margins. This costs something, not in a dramatic way. It costs depth in the moment. It costs the widening that comes when attention lingers without purpose. At the same time, it preserves function's gift, the ability to continue, to hold shape, to maintain form under pressure. There is no clean accounting between what is lost and what is kept. Only a system doing what allows it to remain intact. Sometimes, between actions, there's a brief sensation that does not lead anywhere. A pause just before the next task loads. A breath that goes slightly deeper than required. A tone in the body that has no assignment. These moments do not interrupt. They pass through like peripheral light. They are not consulted. They do not need to be. They exist alongside the sequence, touching its edge, then receding again. The system continues. Plans are made. Days unfold. Tasks meet their containers. Function remains steady, dependable, sufficient. And nearby, without insistence, something else stays present. Not central, not urgent, simply there.